The sleeping traverser. Let's see if this sounds familiar to you. For probably about the first 18 or so years of my life, I would consider myself to be a sleepwalker, someone who runs on autopilot. I was going through every day and just kind of going with the flow of things and really just making the decisions that felt right in the moment, but I didn't have any foresight. I wasn't looking into the future at all because I didn't really see a future for myself. So I just lived in the moment and dwelled in the past. And so that just led to a perpetual cycle of basically struggling with the same things for the majority of my life and never really taking ownership of those things or working on those things. The thing about life is that events happen. And for a lot of us, we perceive events as either being good or bad or random. But what we don't see is that there's actually a whole hidden structure and architecture underneath all of it. All the things that I was sleepwalking through every single day, all the decisions that I was making that were bad decisions, and I would always regret those decisions, but then the next day I would make the same decision again because I didn't see that there was a pattern there. I didn't see that there was an actual structure that was producing the behaviors that I was, and not even just the behaviors, but the entire condition of my life. Like everything I had going for me or not going for me, all my regrets, all my bad decisions, all those things were pretty much predetermined by pre-existing structures and systems within my life that I just didn't see. And, if you are into spirituality, or if you're tired of pseudo spirituality and, you hear the term like awakening and enlightenment and stuff like that, like that's not really what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about like becoming conscious. Okay. Like most of the times we're going through life unconsciously. Like it doesn't feel unconscious. We feel like we're consciously making decisions, but these decisions were predetermined by the structures that are already existing in your life that are going to produce those outcomes. So bringing consciousness to that. Okay. The sleeping traverser, traversal. This is something that we are always doing. Traversing basically just means navigating and moving throughout space. And I don't mean like outer space, but just like the space in front of you. But this is something that we're always doing. Whether you're conscious or not, you are traversing through reality. And that traversal, again, is largely determined by the inputs. Okay, our life is like a factory kind of, and all the inputs, like everything that we intake, other people's emotions, or, making bad decisions or having the wrong things in your environment, and just basically creating the conditions for you to just repeat those same behaviors again and again as you traverse through reality. So what we want to do is, again, most of my life, I would say I was asleep. Then I became aware. That's the next step in the process, is awareness. And awareness is not the end of the process. It is actually just the beginning of a new process. Okay, first you have to become aware of various different things. You have to become aware of reality, but you also have to become aware of the way that reality appears to you, because there's a difference between what appears to you and what actually is. So we need to bring awareness to those things. The next step in the process after awareness is observation. Observation is making distinctions. Observation is being able to differentiate between things. Observation is noticing that, hey, every single day around this time, I get this insatiable feeling that I want to go eat a bag of chips. And then you go get the bag of chips and you eat the bag of chips, and then you feel exactly the same way, and you start to observe those patterns. It becomes a pattern, and you start to identify, okay, there's a cue here. I get this urge or impulse to eat the junk food. And then I go through this psychological process where I'm trying to convince myself why it's okay and hyper-rationalize as to why it's okay for me to have these chips. And then I go have the chips, and then I regret it after. And then you start to see that there's an entire pattern at play here. And that's just with like one thing. Think about how many different patterns are hidden in your life, just buried in unconsciousness. Things that you just do that you don't really know you do. You might even think they're part of your personality, but they're really just habits and behaviors that you've picked up over the course of your lifetime. And not only have you picked up those habits, but you have organized the internal systems and structures in your life around those bad habits. That creates this perpetual loop and cycle that keeps you continuously revolving through and making the same mistake over and over and over again. Okay, so for the next month or so, everything that I'm going to be talking about, on YouTube, on Substack, on Instagram, everything I'm going to be talking about is this first arc of development of the sleeping traverser. Because we are all sleeping to some degree. Sleeping is not a static thing. Like, it's just like when you're sleeping at night, like there's different depths to your sleep. You might be in light sleep, and if somebody, bumped you on the shoulder, you might wake up instantly. Or you might be in a deep sleep or in a crazy dream and no one can wake you up, or there could be a loud thunderstorm outside and you wouldn't even notice. So there's levels and layers and depth to awareness and observation and to sleeping itself. So for the next little while, I don't want you to change just yet. I don't want you to try and implement any change yet. I just want you to notice. I just want you to start noticing the things that you repeat. Because likely if you're repeating something on a regular basis, those are the things that are more likely to be unconsciously driven, because you've done them for so long. It gets like in the beginning, to do something, you have to consciously do it for the most part. And then once you've done it enough times, your body begins to attune to that pathway and to recognize that pathway, and then you begin walking that pathway automatically every time without fail, because it is the most convenient pathway for your mind or your body to travel through. So that's why you keep doing things that are very familiar to you, but you have such conflict with them and you don't know why you do them, or you wish you didn't do them. Okay? Don't think about trying to stop these things yet. Just stop. Just stand still. Look around your room. Look internally and just try to notice these things before we move on to the next step.